welcome. Yes. Big welcome. It's been a while, and I want to say a massive thank you to Malik Dabu for holding the fort. Indeed, Aisha Ibrahim behind the scenes, pulling the strings, and all the team who helped to put PM together. I've been away for a while, but isn't it glad? Well, I'm glad to be back, and I hope it's the same at home. You're glad to see me too. And well, today's topic, massive. Dr. Bawumia said was accusing government or people in government for stealing public funds. Indeed, this rhetoric has been heard many times. Rollins once upon a time accused Kufuor of stealing. There are people in government today who even go all the way back 8 years and accuse the government of stealing. And there are people in opposition, obviously, accusing government of stealing. So it's become as if stealing is the easiest man sling you can sling on anyone who's in power or has ever tasted power. I want to look at why it is that we personalize our politics so much. I know there are persons behind the politics, but can't we narrow down onto their decisions and their policies rather on their persons? Is it possible? Maybe that's what you and I want. Once the person is chastised, then hey, we go and vote for whoever it is that is chastising. Why don't we attack the policies and attack the decisions and leave the beans out? That's what we are going to talk about. My name is Nana Sakwa Wakomwedu Masahini. I am glad to be back, and when I come back, talking to one fine gentleman. Double. Thank you very much for staying. I'm talking to John Kuma, who's a lawyer and also a member of the MPP campaign team. The premises is set from Dr. Bawumia accusing the government for stealing public funds. Let me put it on record that we have called everybody. I've called Kofi Adams, we've called Kujato Ablaka, we've called, I can list you all the names of the people we have called, George Lowe, everybody, and they are not, the NDC is not available. Many of them, anybody who can speak to the issue is not available this evening. So it's not as if I have deliberately just brought John Kuma and I'm going to slant the show. And so I'm going to try and neutralize the show as much as possible so we have a balanced show. So let it be on record that we have called, anyone who is possible to call on the NDC, but they can't make it this evening. And we grant them that excuse. But my brother, you're welcome.
Thank you, Nana. It's such an honor and privilege to be your guest tonight.
I'm honored too to have you on the show. But John, is it personalizing issues? Why do we find ourselves trapped in that culture? Is that what the people are demanding, or is that what we are serving people? Because I tend to find that instead of sometimes going for the decision they took or the policy they made, we skip it and then go directly at the person, which I find a bit challenging.
Yes, thank you. Let me also greet viewers. I totally agree with you that ideally we should be dealing with the policy framework of governments and the policy decisions and its impacts and outcomes on the people, rather than targeting the messenger rather than the message. But unfortunately, it appears that it's becoming a norm as part of our way of politics in this country, that you single out the messenger and also define him and throw away the message that he's carrying. And this has gone on over a period. I think it has worked for some parties, so they tend to go on that line rather than focusing on the party, on the messages. And somebody said that every society deserves the politics that they get. So maybe, like you are asking, is it what the people are demanding? Maybe it appears that is what people react to rather than focusing on just the message. They also want to know who is the messenger. Is he credible? But of course, it's also not just about Ghana. I mean, if you look at politics in the global context, if you are following keenly the U.S. Elections, at the moment, it's boiling down to character between who is Trump and who is Clinton. They are individual persons and character rather than what the Republican Party stands for or what the Democrat stands for. And there are even people who are known and staunch supporters of the Republican Party who are now endorsing Hillary Clinton because they believe maybe Trump's person or character is not what they want to see as a president. So it is not something peculiar to Ghana alone. If you watch politics all over the world, you realize that if you look at the Brexit, and is it Boris Johnson, who nearly became the prime minister, but because of one or two issues, he had to drop because people found issues to do with him personally and his character. So I think all over the world, people, when it comes to politics and public service, people also want to go beyond your public utterances and ask, who really are you and how credible is the message that you are giving out and why should we believe you? So I don't think it's totally out of place to sometimes question the leaders and the kind of character they have displayed in public over the years, and even sometimes their private lives, to which sometimes become, exposed on some of these public issues.
I'll come to this who are you credible business, but before, you said something about people deserving the politics they get. Now, to balance the show, I have to give, anytime I have to try and get examples from two sides.
Exactly.
If I take when, Kennedy Japan made some utterances, and the police hauled him, he had MPP supporters trooping there to say, hey, bring our man back, bring our man back. And very few actually saying, look, no, you shouldn't have said that. I come back to Muntie. They also say, things that I can't even repeat on air. And you have equally us trooping there, say, hey, bring our people back, with very, few, we don't chastise as much as we want them back. So, is like you say, I mean, is it that's what we want?
Well, these are two different scenarios. The Muntie one and the
I'm just talking about,
Kennedy.
Utterances.
Exactly. I get it. I mean, the context of utterances is the same, but in terms of the two scenarios, one was, a political outburst went wrong, and then people felt that the government was trying to intimidate their opponents by arresting Kennedy Japan. Obviously, there were people within his party who felt he went overboard, and I remember some leaders of the party actually condemning the statement. So that is a fact. But I mean, it was one matter that ended at propaganda stage because it never crossed the line of going into prosecution.
I don't want to go into the details.
Yes.
I'm talking in general how we act towards these things.
Exactly.
We, the people, just jump on the bandwagon and file up to whichever police station it is and sleep there until whoever it is released, regardless of what has happened.
Exactly, like this Muntie 3, for instance. I mean, where a court of competent jurisdiction, and I mean the highest court of the land, has found certain statements scandalous and contemptuous and have convicted these people and put them behind bars for 4 months. And you have the whole head of state or the president, exercising his prerogative right of mercy to say, I don't agree with the court, so they should come out.
You see, but there were lots of people who wanted Muntie 3 out, not the president. I mean, who genuinely
because
wanted them out.
His public pressure, which of course came from his party people.
But then, you see, so that it doesn't become like a fencing. When, Chairman Buntumi also slapped someone, I mean, anyway, there were people who said, no, bring our chairman back. So it's like at every given time, we sort of turn a little blind eye to the crime or the wrong that has been occurred. So, like you're saying,
it's the people. I told you that they said every society deserves the kind of politics they get. So if the desire of the people is to see action, is to, if the desire of the people is for a particular, person or purpose, I mean, there's little you can do. But, these things are also biblical. If you look at the days of Jesus during his crucifixion, the Pilate asked them, this man, I don't find any wrong with him. But the people demanded that they want the crucifixion of Christ instead of the murderer or the thief or the person who has been condemned. So it is not peculiar only to Ghana. These are normal things that all over the world, leaders or leadership respond to the demands and dictates of the people.
No. I mean, shouldn't you, the political elite, raise the bar so that because if you build it, we will come.
You see, you can only raise the bar when you allow the laws and the systems work. There's nothing magical about elsewhere where the systems and the laws work, irrespective of the individual who find himself, at the wrong side of the law. The law has to deal with you. But if you have a situation where the people say that, no, we don't think this is a justifiable, and in most cases, I mean, let's also be fair to in situations where people demand for release of people who have been arrested or imprisoned, it's in most cases political. And when it becomes a political matter, people feel that there's some form of, bias or unfairness or inequity in why or either the process or the substance of the arrest. So anytime it's got to do with politics, then of course you are likely to have a political reaction either from this side or the other side. So I believe that it is not a general issue in the country where anytime there's an arrest, no. Anytime there's a political arrest.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. And I'm saying that is the kind of politics as a country we have come to adopt. And whether for better or for worse, for now, that is the politics that Ghana is practicing. And of course, you cannot limit it to Ghana alone. I've already told you elsewhere it happens.
But we can't copy other people's cultures. We have a different culture. We have a complete different culture. And, if you probably look in traditional settings, and I'm sure not many people in Nedumasa would take everything I do, but they will be extremely measured in how they criticize me because of how it is. You have to take me back door and say, Nana, what you did was wrong. But in public, maybe you'll be very measured. That's who we are. We can't deny that. So if the Americans do it, fine. Maybe it suits them. But, we don't. But my question again is, you are lawyers. You have traveled. You are more exposed. You've had the privilege of going to the better schools. And I'm talking collectively.
Yes.
So why don't you raise the bar so that the likes of us who are, just pushing the truck and everything say, oh, they don't talk like that or they don't behave like that. Therefore, maybe that's.
But Nana, who are you raising the bar for? Is it the people?
Of course.
Now the people say we don't want the bar raised. We want our person out. So what do you do if you are the leader?
No. In terms of raising the bar, then it means you at the top will not use abusive words, will not use derogatory statements, so that it doesn't even trickle down.
Oh, but Nana, to be fair to all our leaders, whether left or right, we cannot say it is the norm in our politics to use derogatory words. Occasionally, there are slips. And
is it not one too many?
I don't think so. I mean,
your leaders.
Maybe we are also over-criticizing ourselves. I don't think we are actually, excessively damaging each other politically. I mean, there's an extent that anybody can go in this country. Ghana has both social, political, even, let me say, religious systems to restrain everybody in this country. There's an extent to which you can go. And I mean, at every stage, whether you belong to a political party or not, there's a religious leader that will call you to warn you, a political leader or a traditional leader that will rein you in. So I don't think we are overstepping our bounds. But of course, it is normal, and with every group of people in Akan, they say, Fibia Mensawum. Of course, occasionally you find people crossing the bar, and I don't think it is the norm. It is unusual. So let us not also over-criticize ourselves.
You don't think there's a cause to complain?
for now, I don't see it that much, especially looking at the tempo, the political temperature at the moment, and how the political leadership are handling themselves. For now, I think at a point it was getting out of control with the Montier style of political assassination on radio. But since the Supreme Court intervened, I think there's some level of sanity in our airwaves, and I believe that all the political actors too are also reasonably behaving and sending the message. I mean, if you have followed the political landscape over the few weeks, especially since Dr. Bawumia delivered his lecture on the economy and the response from government and all, even though it's always not factual, some propaganda and all that, at least it has been more issue-based kind of discussions, from manifesto launching of the NDC, the response from the NPP and that kind of thing. The PPP and the others are also, you know, coming out with issues that they think are bordering on the welfare of the people, that they believe when we push, it will bring change that we are all looking for. So for now, I think it is much more issues-based. Everybody is trying to catch attention from the people. And whilst those who are in opposition are hammering on hardships and the economic problems and difficulties that we're finding ourselves, government is also busily trying to point to various infrastructures they have done, even though it doesn't fully account for the amount of resources they have received.
There's something you said, and I want to go back to with the credibility of the individual. We have a system where everybody goes to parliament and suddenly they are all Siamese twins. They all think. I mean, I just find it amazing. They all suddenly think the same. So that if you're on this side, it is very, very rare would you find one MP coming out and say, no, I cannot go with what this party is saying. I don't agree with it. It's like, if this says yes, then we are all yes, and we are all no. I just find it, maybe if I get there, I'll also do the same. But is there nobody in there who even wants a further explanation or no?
Well, I think...
how then do we even judge the credibility of how you voted on GMO or how you voted on this so that I can assess you?
Well, I am not in parliament yet, so I will not be able to tell much why it happens like that. But I know that parliament works mostly through its committees and subcommittees and stuff like that. And much of the debate happens at that level where they invite opinions and write-ups and all that for people to contribute to a particular discussion. So by the time maybe it gets to the floor of parliament, all these dissenting opinion might have been considered before finally it's presented to the General House. So at that level, I think the yeses and the no's have already been exhausted, and there's nothing to do than either concur, yeah, or no, and then they move on. So maybe it's also got to do with the way they operate. Before the matter is actually put before the General House, they would have gone into various committee sittings and different, and I've read some of the committee sittings, and sometimes can be very heated where there are disagreements. And of course, it's not also always, but of course about 90% of the time they are agreeing. But sometimes too, you realize that they disagree sharply even at the committee level, and it also comes on the floor on some of the controversial matters. And if you have noticed, most of the cases that become controversial in parliament always don't have good results, like the STL deal and so many other deals that you can talk about, that where there are sharp divisions in parliament about why a particular thing is being pushed through, usually it doesn't end well. So I believe we don't normally hear them on this yeah or no disagreement, because much of the work is done at the committee level, which is usually not for public viewing. So we don't get to hear much of their disagreements at the committee's level. But I'm not in parliament, so I can't speak a lot.
No sweat. So we won't chastise them too much. But you said something about, we are moving towards issue-based.
Yes.
Sitting here, I'm saying we are moving more toward more promise-based, promise-based rather than issue-based. But, what are the real issues for these elections?
Okay. For now, if you ask me, I think that the economy is one of the critical campaigning issue in this election. And especially when Dr. Bawumia sought to put the economy in perspective and where we have come from and where we are now and what we can do if we can change this government and give it a better manager as far as the economy is concerned and where we could get to. Then the response from government, you know, of course, their lame attempt to also respond to Dr. Bawumia and make people feel that they're also doing something viable. So clearly the economy...
They will look at it from a perspective that will look good from their side.
Exactly. And they have been lame on that. I mean, clearly, so far they have not been strong. If you listen to Fifi Kwete and his response to Dr. Bawumia, clearly he just went for dead propaganda matters from 2008 to respond to
that's what I'm saying.
more weightier matters raised by Dr. Bawumia. So these are, and I mean, the vice president also had opportunity. Instead of responding, he also went to do political gymnastics.
Vice president, I'm not too sure, but I think Fifi Kwete, had a point.
No, what did he say? Fifi Kwete basically talked about cocaine in NPP era, and he forgot that they have rather used the presidency to push cocaine in their government. And
no, I didn't want us to go there because they are not here.
Well, they are not here. So,
yeah, they're not here to defend themselves. I don't want us to go there.
Yes, but at least let's deal with the economy for now. You see, Fifi Kwete tried to look at 1992.
No, his explanation is that they put in a lot of money and it will grind, and then the yields will come out now. I give you an example. When Nkrumah set up all those factories, within a year, everybody said, oh, he's putting too much money in the factories and there's nothing coming out. But realistically, it would have taken about 5-6 years for us to see the profit. But we didn't wait, and then boom. So that's what he's saying now. Look, the monies in which we've thrown into the system now, good roads, schools, this, you allow cars to start using the roads, reduce traffic, people get into school, and then we'll start yielding the profit. And then nothing's going to happen.
This is where Ghanaians are asking them. These schools you are talking about, where are they? You promised to build 200 secondary schools. You have commissioned only 10. So where are the schools? You said you built 10 training colleges. You built 0. So where are the schools? You talk about roads. Where are the roads that we are talking about? He went to Western region. The people are complaining. We don't have good roads. I mean, all over the country, there are problems with roads. So where are the road infrastructure you talk about? So we want to sieve the propaganda from the reality.
But these are these are the roads that they inherited from since when? I mean, nobody's ever going to finish building all the roads.
No, but the ones you said you have built, where are they? We want to see real evidence of it. It's not the propaganda. The green book that he talks about.
Oh, but there has been a lot of roads.
Nobody will come as a government that will not build roads. So, you judge them relative to the revenues and incomes that have come. So Dr. Bawumia said that between 2001 and 2009, the NPP had in total receipts of 20 billion cedis. Taxes, borrowed loans, and all that.
I think Fifi disputed that.
No, he did not. And then the NDC from 2009 till to date have borrowed 248 or have received 248 billion cedis. Now, where is that money and what has been done with it?
On that note, I want to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll try and find out where the money is. Don't move. Well, if it's Ghanaian, it's authentic. Joy Prime brings you the Made in Ghana Fair 2016 this October at a location near you. Get ready for an exhibition of all your Made in Ghana products ranging from fashion, food, jewelry, and accessories, and many more. For more inquiries and to place your product during the event, please contact 0302 211 68028 and then 024 311 5109. The Made in Ghana Fair is brought to you by Joy Prime, sponsored by Almanac Company Limited and supported by Home Food Processing Company Limited. But these are the numbers again. I'm sure you are, home making your little soaps or jewelry or leather bags and you want some exposure. This is the number to call. Call them and inquire and find out what the process is to get your wares advertised. 0302 211 0302 211 68028. And then you can call 0243 115 109. Give them a call now and find out how it is to advertise your made in Ghana goods. But with me is John Kuma. John, is Dr. Bawumia making more headlines than the flag bearer? Because he seems to really, pull the media along more than the flag bearer is doing. Is it strategic? Is he the main spokesperson?
Everybody has their role. And like I've told you, the economy is a very critical message as far as this election is concerned. People want to see how you're going to create jobs, put money in their pocket. The youth who are unemployed wants to see how you're going to create the jobs for them. The hardship in the system, the students whose allowances have been withdrawn, like the nursing and teacher training allowances have been withdrawn. They also want to see how you are going to restore all these allowances. The importers and people who are suffering so much under huge taxes in this government also want to see how you are going to resolve this problem. And I mean, by convention, the vice president is always the head of the economic management team. So he must start doing his work. And he's putting the messages out there, how he's going to create fiscal discipline, various, he talks about how he proposed various, not just monetary policy, but fiscal councils and all that. He talked about different kind of groups that will respond. We have the monetary management group or something that occasionally meet to set the interest rate and all. He's also talking about having another body called the fiscal.
Increasing the size of government and increasing the cost.
Oh, it's not about the increase. You are looking at results. If you have to attain, a particular output, and you think that by, a certain process you achieve that results, there's nothing wrong with increasing the number of workforce if you are going to achieve a higher output or results.
The other thing which I'm concerned, and maybe viewers will be concerned, is assuming the NPP were to come in power, are we going to hear the previous government, because you've been lamenting this and that, borrowed 200 million, they've done this. So if any chance they gave you power, you just sit and say, well, the previous government borrowed all this, so I can't provide you this, I can't provide you that, I can't provide you this because they borrowed this.
Well, we have a record, and we can go back to it. When the NPP came to power in 2001, Ghana was officially HIPIC, highly indebted poor country. But we didn't complain. We set out to work. And by the time the NPP was handing over in 8 years' time, Ghana had moved from a HIPIC economy to a lower middle income economy.
Because you have debt forgiveness. So, it was easy. Everybody could have done that.
The total debt forgiveness for Ghana was less than 2 billion in 8 years. And the debt forgiveness is still ongoing even under the NDC government.
No, but then it was a huge chunk. So, you could start borrowing afresh.
No.
Yes.
It was over a period. Now, let me make a point to you. Then when we left the economy at that lower middle income for them at 9.1% rate, we also found oil in commercial quantities for the NDC government. Now, in the past 4 years, they have received $4 billion in revenues from the oil sector alone.
Heritage funds for the future.
No, not only in heritage funds, but I'm telling you that the HIPIC contribution or benefit that came to Ghana over the 8 years was less than 2 billion. Now, in 4 years, because we left you an oil economy, you have 4 billion extra.
Funds that came in, there was a lot of debt forgiveness.
No, don't say a lot to make it sound more. I'm saying that the total debt forgiveness over the 2 years was less than 2 billion over the 8 years. And don't forget, HIPIC benefits is still part of our budget today. The NDC has enjoyed HIPIC benefits for the past 8 years that they have been in government. On top of that, they have also received 4 billion in revenues from the oil sector that we left for them. What do they have to show?
Well, the wage bills go from 2 billion to 8 billion or something, so that will automatically wipe that away.
It should not. Let me tell you, rather the problem we face right now is interest payments, where Dr. Bawumia says that today, Government is paying 10.5
so
billion.
if you came to power, you still pay that interest. I mean, are you going to?
Of course, you need to reverse it. That is why the government must stop borrowing. If you find yourself in a hole and you are sinking, the last thing you must do is to continue to dig. Is that not so? You stop the digging to find yourself out.
How are you going to pay wages?
But this is the government who finds itself getting drowned by loans and is still borrowing.
Because you have to pay workers.
But that is a wrong way. You must also create economic activity. One way is to borrow. Another way is to create wealth. The ability and the ideas to create wealth is where this government lacks. The incompetence, the mismanagement, and the corruption. Something that's supposed to cost us 100 cedis. They charge us 1,000. And Dr. Bawumia gave a lot of examples. For instance, these are Mary plants, which, all over the world, everybody knows it costs $200 million. It was sold to Ghana at $510 million. And so many other...
Because at the time, we didn't have the money and we have to go and borrow it. And if you're buying on high purchase, it's different from if you're going to buy cash. If the car is 699 and you buy it at an APR or spreading over 5 years, by the time you finish paying it, you haven't paid 699 for it. You probably have paid 13.
So do you believe that we don't have money? After I've told you that we have received 248 billion cedis in 8 years, you still believe we don't have money? How much is $200 million? It's just a misplacement of the priority and lack of vision.
Okay, so now let's move to campaign strategy.
Yes.
Moving swiftly on to campaign strategy. What's the strategy? Because we see different people at different areas at certain times. So what's the strategy? Now,
this particular campaign, the flag bearer believes that the NPP must reach every voter. Mm-hmm. So whilst he leads part of the campaign, the running mate also leads part of the campaign, the other leaders also lead various parts of the campaign. The PCs are doing house to house, and of course, the various groupings. We are not interested in this grandiose gathering of campaigning, where you do crowds campaign and go home. No, the NPP believes that we must reach out to every voter. Let me take this opportunity to talk to supporters of the NPP and everybody who wants to see a change in this country, that you must reach out to a voter, talk to somebody in your house, in your neighborhood, in the trotro, in the taxi, in your workplaces, try and explain how we can stop the hardship going on. The incompetence and the corruption can only change when you are able to convince a voter that there's a need, that the problem of this country is not the money, but how to manage the resources that we have prudently so that it can affect our lives for the better. The NPP has done it before. In 2001, the per capita GDP, that is, if you share the entire money of the country for the population, it was $440. In 8 years, by the time Kufuor handed over, it was $1,266 per head.
Because a few people had gotten richer.
No, it's not about few. I'm talking about the entire population.
I know, but you see, you take the number and divide it by the population. It doesn't mean everybody's got that money. It's just that a few people have gotten so rich. If you divide it, they then put you in the middle, upper middle class. But generally, 30% of the people can't even buy food.
Well, on the contrary, according to the World Bank and the IMF data, poverty had reduced from 39.5% in 2001 to 28.5% in 2009. By the time we handed over, President Kufuor had introduced LEAP to help the very poor people. He had introduced free maternal health care to help the poor women who go on delivery hospitals to deliver, to do so free of charge. There was metro mass transport to help so many people and reduce traffic on our roads. There was also the national health insurance. So effectively, President Kufuor actually improved on the lives of so many Ghanaians.
Well, everybody has improved on the lives. I mean it's funny enough, I'm not blaming.
Now, look at the figures on poverty today as we speak. It has shot back to now 32%.
Because the population has grown.
Poverty is not as a result of population. America is about 10 times more populated than Ghana, but yet they are about 500 times richer than us. So your population could even be your strength rather than your disadvantage. You see, the problem is not the money or the population. It's about the management and the vision to make it relevant to the people. And that is what this government lacks. That is what President Mahama is not offering this country. And that is what Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will offer.
Well, I like that because you're using a lot of mismanagement. But however, your running mate today in Key used the word, thief or stealing. I mean, could he not have measured his word and used mismanagement rather than direct delivery?
I have told you that every society gets the politics that they want. Maybe when you tell somebody that there's mismanagement, in the tree word, how are you going to put it? Who's here is different. If you're a bad watchman, it's different from you're a bad manager. So the best way to tell the person is that we're Sikano.
But is it accurate?
Well, may not be perfect, but at least it's closer to mismanagement than telling them, especially mismanagement mixed with corruption is pure thievery, to be honest. Because if we all know the value of something, this bottle to cost us 10 cedis, and eventually, let's do the bus branding using the oil cash. And the man who carried out the job said he charged the person 11,000 Ghana cedis for the entire 115 buses. Now you and I were billed 3.6 million Ghana cedis. That is 36 billion.
Because they had to spray the buses. The guy who put the stickers charged 11,000. But then there's the sprayer.
These buses were bought sprayed. So what are we talking about?
But they changed the colors. They had to change the colors to give
so the spraying also cost us how much? This is not spraying. I'm talking about the rebranding.
I know. The guy who put the stickers on there charged.
He took 11,000 and the spraying took us how much?
Well,
1 billion.
Whatever it is that he charged.
So, I mean, this is clear thievery. Look, have you heard about the JIDA report?
No, before we go there, I mean, one thing which comes up with this incompetent tag, which I think the president is absolutely, dislike him being called incompetent because he says you haven't come close to governance. I mean, is it not a bit fair? Because, I mean, Kufuor said that, well, look, if you haven't been there before, you don't know what we're talking about here. You're running Ghana for crying out loud. Ignorance, poverty, all these are going on, and you are in the helm of affairs. All these poor people and ignorant people. So, just say competent, incompetent, it's not easy.
It is very easy. Nana, do you know last Friday, Daily Graphic, page 16, published that the Bawumia rice project is dead and that 500 people has been sent home without pay. How will you describe this government? It is totally incompetent. With all these resources, you cannot even manage Bawumia rice.
No, but are you saying that under every government, businesses close down, people get laid off? Yes, under every government.
Nana, maybe you have forgotten.
I haven't forgotten. I mean, Ghana Telecom, got closed down. Under the NPP government, So
no, rather, Ghana Telecom received investment. Have you heard the justification for the concessioneering arrangements of ECG by government? That they are using Ghana Telecom as the basis for a good example of privatization. So let's not even go to Ghana Telecom. Now,
I'm not going to Ghana. What I'm saying is that to say somebody is incompetent because some businesses have closed down may not be fair, because at every era, some businesses close down and people get laid off.
That's why I was telling you, let me tell you why President Mahama has been very incompetent. And if you look at the era of President Kufuor, the NPP, whilst banks were chasing businesses and individuals to come for money to expand their businesses, what is the reverse today? Today, even the little that you go and deposit at the bank, have you heard of DKM, God is Love, Perfect Edge, Jasper Motors and all those groups, microfinances, who have wasted people's
but had it not been our style of politics, would you blame anybody? Because, I mean, if you are there and somebody says, bring me 10 cedis, I'll give you 60 cedis. Why would I give you 60 cedis?
Which kind of banking regulation allowed the people to be able to do that? Who licensed them to do that? So this is a clear case of a government who is so incompetent, cannot even control the business environment. That is even adding to his woes. You understand? If there was credit, he would have taken it.
But is the banking not independent? I mean, what's that banking got to do with the
Then
governance.
what is the use of Bank of Ghana and the Banking Act?
But Bank of Ghana is not the government, is it? They are independent on their own.
So they can do whatever they like?
They can do whatever they like, but I mean, if something goes foul, you know, in the banking sector, you don't directly link it to the president to say, well, it's your fault that Bank of Ghana didn't supervise.
You see, it is even more than direct to link it to him. All over the world, you understand, the banking sector is so critical to any economy. For a government to say that, or a president to say that whatever happens there is his back business, will show a gross incompetent government. You understand? But it's not just about the banking sector. Look, do you know what Dumso has done to businesses in this country? The cost of Dumso to unemployment and the cost of production and all that in this country. And who caused it? He has mismanaged and incompetently handled Dumso for nearly 4 good years, and Ghanaians have paid huge price. So in every way that you want to assess this government, he can only pass for incompetence and mismanagement.
Let me catch up with some of the messages. This is Lucas from Koforidua. Nana, good to have you back. Please tell John Kuma to spare us his unfounded logical deductions. If he loses a case in court once or twice, does he make him incompetent? JM will win. Lucas from Koforidua. Good evening to you, my brother.
Once or twice you'll be pardoned, but if it becomes your routine, no client will come to you. Like JM.
Is it a taboo for a politician to admit the good part of his opponent? Sometimes I listen to them deny concrete and tangible fact, and I wonder if God-fearing man can ever be a politician. This government, though, has challenges with the economy. They have done tremendously well in providing infrastructure. Your guys should be talking about how they are going to improve upon what they have instead of saying they have done nothing. That's unfair. This is Bambakai Samid in Fumbisi. Good evening to you, my brother. This one says, my major worry with Nanado is whether he will complete the unfinished project by Mahama government without finding excuses for not doing so. Taxpayers' money should not go waste because change in government. Thank you. This is Kweku Sam Cape Coast. Nana, why do you have a one-sided MPP guest? Because I tried as much as possible. We called everyone we could call in NDC, and they just couldn't make it today. They were all somehow tied up today. So that's the reason why. This one says, I am wondering whether Nana Akufo-Addo one village, one dam policy would be feasible. Clearly, MPP has no campaign message. So the only way they can bail themselves out is to report this kind of empty promises. A while Tamale campaign aid to the MCE of Salavelugu. Okay, my brother. Let's catch one here. This one says, Nana, this country has suffered enough because President Mahama's incompetence and the NDC corrupt nature. In fact, it will be a doom for Ghana to retain this state visionless NDC to waste another 4 years. I believe that Ghana can work again if we get a very credible visionary leader. I am for incorruptible Nana Akufo-Addo. Hashtag change must happen. Shipman Atonsu in Kumasi. Let me get this many messages. Let me just try and catch some. This one says, Nana, what makes Ghana's culture so different in the world in which sharing of ideas, lifestyle, technology, etc. is so fast that it's not easy to put limitation on them as and when they come until the negative sides begin to show. Kojo Awotri in Tema. This is very biased and unfair to have a program titled this way without NDC member on your studio. Are you from Boko? Are you? I've explained that we tried so much, but nobody would come. That's why I'm not dwelling too much on the topic on your screen. Okay, so please forgive me. But we tried. Nobody from the NDC came. Good evening, Nana. It's good to be back. I'm watching you live inside Obuasi, Kwame China at Obuasi. Kwame, thank you very much. Okay, let me go back. Try and catch up with many of your messages. Hold on. This one says, oh, ignorant is killing Ghanaians. Why should you give yourself... No, this has got nothing to do with that. So let me come back to studio. But before I come, the last one says, "Hi Nana, this is a fact that Dr. Bawumia is saying. This is a fact that Dr. Bawumia is saying. So let's be bold and be honest to ourselves, because those who are in the helm of affairs are just wasting the resources of the country. The work the President Mahama and his government claim to have done for almost 8 years that have been in power doesn't correspond to the quantum of resources that have had. So let President Mahama and his government tell the Ghanaians where the rest of the money is. Money, got the chopam yafu, and we should check it."
One tester was concerned about whether Nana will continue the projects that President Mahama will leave behind if we send him off in December. Let me assure him that every project in Ghana is not personal to any government.
But you're complaining about the cost. So how are you going to continue it?
Of course, once there are contracts, they are binding on you. And if you attempt to cancel it, of course, then you should be ready for judgment dates. These are contracts that are already signed. And any government must continue. In fact, if you read the directive principles of state policy in our constitution, it enjoins every succeeding government to carry on with the projects that were started by previous government. And
see, but that's why your challenge is going to be, because, Dr. Bawumia said that projects have been inflated, we're borrowing too much, we're paying too much in interest. Indeed, we are paying more in interest than we're using to build the country. So once you've taken over power, this is the reality. So you can't build because you have to use all the money to pay this so-called interest. You'll be stuck.
No, if you come to this conclusion, then it means...
No, I'm not coming to the conclusion. That's
I mean, nobody should come to that conclusion, because that will mean that you don't appreciate how the economy runs. You see, what you do is to expand the economic activity and create wealth to lower the burden of debt on the economy. There are so many ways, like I've already stated, that if you find yourself in a hole, you stop digging. So there are so many ways to come out of that hole of debt and interest payments and all those things.
But there's two things. You either dig yourself out of trouble or you stop digging. I mean, in the economy, you either spend yourself out of trouble or you stop spending.
No. You see, it's like when President Kufuor came, he made wealth creation and economic expansion one of his focus.
Because he had the tax, the forgiveness of debt to be able to do that.
And I'm saying we have something more than forgiveness of debt. Maybe you forgot. I said that debt forgiveness gave us only 2 billion. But now we even have oil revenue that brings in double of that amount. So if you want to focus, there's much more revenue for you now than even under President Kufuor. So you have extra income and revenue from other sources to expand this economy if you really want to.
You have this wage bill. I mean, now you have a triple, quadruple wage bill.
You see, the problem...
You have more people in the system,
I've told you that the problem is not the wage bill. What is the percentage of the wage bill to the GDP?
Nearly 70%.
No.
Nearly 70%.
The total debt of Ghana to our revenue is 70%. But the wage bill is just a small, scanty amount of it.
Are you sure?
I'm telling you. Look, the interest payments alone...
Aren't we told the meat is close to the bone because we are spending so much?
They have actually gone into the marrow of the bone. You understand? But that is because of the over-borrowing. And Nanado is saying that he is not going to that borrowing spree because he has already advised his government to stop the borrowing. And especially if you borrow and you are not able to account for its investment, that's where the problem is. For instance, Dr. Bawumia has said, it's not about taxes. Dr. Bawumia has said that we have borrowed $39 billion US. Now the government claims, no, that's not correct. We have borrowed $28 billion. Now the Green Book they have done and all the infrastructure that they talk about they have done, which we credit them, they have done it. The cost of all those infrastructure is about $7 billion. Now, where is the rest of the about $22 billion that you claim you have borrowed? What have you used it for? Is it for consumption? So the World Bank, the IMF, but that's the danger. If you are borrowing to service debt, ask any banker that you walk to your banker and you tell him that you owe a debt, so you want to borrow to go and pay that debt.
If I borrowed from you at, let's say, 10%, and the debt is coming up, and then he's going to give me some at 5% to clear it, I've sort of reduced it, but now servicing a 5% debt instead of a 10% debt, because the debt is already there.
No, anybody who borrows to settle a debt is not a prudent manager. And every banker will tell you that any applicant for a loan who claims that he's borrowing to settle a loan or a debt should not be approved. If I'm the banker, I won't approve it.
Thank you very much. The number to call Tanti's Fashions, who make my shirt, are 0243 661 661 That's Tanti's Fashion, and you give them a call and get yourself one nice shirt. But as I say, thank you very much, John. I must say he's very decorous. You know, he hasn't ripped into the opposition. He's done well. He's done his best. John, thank you very much.
When I'm being hosted by Nana, what else can I do?
Thank you for watching. Tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again.